Are NCRTs enough for UPSC, CSC, and other state public service commission examinations? In this focused video, we will cut through this confusion and look subject by subject and give you exam ready strategy for using NCRTs effectively. Whether you are a beginner or revising for mains, this guide that we'll discuss today will guide you to decide what to read, why, and what to supplement it with. Okay, so it is a practical, subject wise, and exam stage perspective that we'll discuss today. Now, before moving forward, it's my pleasure to announce before you that we at Shikara Academy are launching a UPSC CSC plus TGPSC Group 1 integrated batch. In this course, we'll provide you with live and recorded classes, subject wise and full length test series, complete current affairs coverage with study materials and resources, CSAT preparation, and your mains answer writing practice with a special focus on the essay writing. All this at just a price of rupees 55,000. The batch starts from 13th October, and enroll now and get 50% off on our all exclusively NCRT Foundation batch for free. Now, starting with the quick answer. Okay. A short answer is that NCRTs are necessary but are not always sufficient. These are necessary, no doubt, but are not always sufficient. They provide the language, concepts, and core facts that you must know for the exam, especially for prelims and basic mains structure. But for depth and examples, the recent data, and certain optional subjects, you will need additional sources. So, for recent data and for your optional subjects, you will be needing the additional sources. So, start with NCRTs, then layer in focused books, newspapers, and official reports. Okay. So, NCRTs can be good for it will provide you a perfect foundation for prelims. These are also essential for making a base for mains answer building and answer writing. But it needs targeted supplements depending on subject to subject and the stage of examination. So, what NCRTs are actually good at? Okay, what do they provide? So, NCRTs they excel at crisp, reliable fundamentals. They give clean and clear definitions, simple explanations of the fundamental concepts. Okay, so they are the raw materials examiners expect you to know. Okay, so the content of the the NCRT, examiner believes or examiner expects that you should at least know the basics that are given in the NCRTs. If you take the example, for example, 11th and 12th history books and economics text, they give straightforward narrative and help you to build prelims facts and the backbone for the mains answer. The geography NCRTs, they clarify the physical processes and the map skills. Okay. So for history, they provide the NCRTs provide a good chronology and a narrative. For physical geography, it provides basics, maps, and diagrams. For economics per se, you can make your basic concepts, you can clear your basic concepts with class 11th and class 12th level books. For science, you can go through class 6 to 10 NCRTs for general science for your prelims. And because the language in the NCRTs, okay, is very conceptual language, and you have to write the conceptual answers as well with language that is simple, crisp, and phrase with simple, crisp phrasing. But NCRTs are not sufficient, so there are many areas in which they fell short also. Okay, so but NCRTs are not the whole story. They rarely include the deeper analysis. Okay, NCRTs they rarely have the deeper analysis or the citations or up to the date statistics. Okay, because NCRTs are published in sets. Okay, so it's been so many years pass. So the NCRTs they do not get to dated regularly. So they do not provide up to date statistics for the mains answer. Okay, so these statistics that you have to incorporate in the mains answers, NCRTs lack in them. The NCRTs won't cover the latest policy changes as well or the certain contemporary case studies that you can quote. So, certain case study in the media, okay, that will not be found in NCRTs or the latest policy changes a few months back or few weeks back, those policy changes will not also be covered with NCRTs. And in many optional subjects, particularly optional subjects like engineering, law, management, okay, the NCRTs play a very negligible role. So treating them as the only source, okay, for the entire preparation is highly, highly risky. Now, if we take the subject-wise approach for the subject of history, okay, NCRTs are excellent for narratives and timelines. Okay, So for ancient and medieval history, NCERTs are often sufficient. Okay, for the subject of ancient history and for the subject of medieval history, NCERTs are often sufficient as they provide the fodder for prelims as well as they make your spine for the mains examination as well. But the modern history, okay, for modern Indian history, you should begin with NCERTs. Always begin with NCERTs for modern Indian history, but also supplement it. But read one standard modern history textbook for in-depth and for interpretation. Okay, this helps in building analytical ability for mains answers and adding examples. Okay, so for modern India, always start with the NCERTs, but supplement with one standard text for depth, and this can be the Spectrum, the modern Indian history by Spectrum publication, or it can be by Bipin Chandra. Okay, it can be the Bandyopadhyay's from Plasi to Partition. So take any one supplement book, okay, one standard textbook, and supplement it with the NCERTs. For mains, use NCERTs for structure and add deeper works for the arguments. Then for the subject of polity and governance, okay, NCERTs give you conceptual foundation. Okay, for polity, NCERT introduced you to the constitutional basis, which is very crucial for the subject, like the separation of powers, federalism, the basic constitutional provisions. But for an exam-ready grip, pair them with the standard polity book, okay, like the Lakshmikant or DD Basu. Okay, they pair with a standard polity book and that collects the articles. So that book should have articles, landmark case summaries, and current debates as well. So NCERTs, they will help you explain concepts in a clear language, no doubt about that. The other book that you will supplement it with will provide you with the fodder that you will need for critical evaluation. Okay, so for prelims, NCERTs plus a standard polity textbook is usually enough. For mains, you need additional sources for case laws and for contemporary debates and the in-depth policy analysis. Then for the subject of geography and environment, now geography, for the subject of geography, NCERTs are invaluable for physical geography. Okay, you do not require any other source apart from NCERTs for the concepts for the subject of physical geography. For the human geography and the environmental issues, NCERTs, they set the scene, but the mains question, the question in the mains examination, they demand current policies, project names, and case studies, which you will find from the other supplementary sources or the recent reports. Okay, so for human geography, supplement NCERTs with the thematic textbooks and the reports. Similarly, for environment also, NCERT form the basic along with current reports and examples that will provide you the fodder for strong answers. Then for the subjects of economy and science, so NCERTs are the ideal starting point for both the subjects that they are used to demystify the core concepts. But for the modern economy, the answers need more statistics, more policy analysis. So supplement with the economic subject, though supplement the economy NCERT with the current economic survey. Okay, so NCERT explain the basics. So the definition of GDP, inflation, okay, the basics of bankings, all this can be covered by NCERTs. So along with the NCERTs, you have to add a standard text and get the data right, the policy right with the economic survey for application based question. For science and text, the NCERTs for class 6 to 10 is vital for general science. Okay, these books are essential for basics. Okay, but you have to use the other scientific journals or other primers for the getting the recent breakthroughs, so the recent happenings, because science and tech is a subject in which current developments, the questions are generally focused on current developments. So for those current developments, you need to follow certain generals or other certain primers for getting the recent breakthrough that has happened in science. For the subjects of ethics, optional, and current affairs, which is an important part of the CSE preparation or the PCS preparation, the NCERTs help with the moral theory. Okay, so for ethics, the NCERTs, social science, and psychology give you conceptual lenses, but it needs more case studies. Okay, but the mains needs more real world cases and value based answers. For the optional papers, usually need textbooks and scholarly works beyond the NCERTs. So optional subjects, because they are above the graduation level till the honors level. So NCERTs, they rarely suffice. Okay, they are highly insufficient. So you have to pick subject specific standard books. For the current affairs are not mentioned in NCERTs because NCERTs are published some years back. So cover the current affairs with via newspapers, magazines, or the PIB releases and the government reports. Supplement the readings of the NCERTs with these current affairs reading. Now, how do you use NCERTs practically and effectively? Okay, so first, read to build clarity. Avoid heavy note making on the first pass or on the first reading. Okay, so on your first reading, do not make heavy notes. Okay, just read through the books. In the second reading, secondly, convert chapters into one-page summaries. Okay, make one-page summaries of each chapter with key facts and diagrams. In the third step is you have to map those summaries to the UPSC syllabus. Okay, so the first reading you have done. In the second reading, make one chapter notes. Okay, in the third, the summary is the one chapter, the one page summaries that you have made. Map that to the UPSC syllabus and identify the gaps. Okay, identify the topics that are left that are left known in the syllabus that you have not covered in these one page summaries. Okay, then fill these gaps that are there with a single focused supplement. Okay, and do not over accumulate the books. Okay, so first read, get clarity, avoid note making, then make one page summaries per chapter, including definitions, timelines, and diagrams. Then map NCERT topics to UPSC syllabus and mark the gaps. Then focus on covering those gaps with a focus reading of one particular source. Okay, supplement, use only one focus supplement. Then in the revision, okay, finally, because revision is more important than reading. So use this script summaries that you have made, okay, for regular revision. Okay. Now this workflow over this overall workflows, it saves times and make NCERTs an exam weapon rather than a time sink. Okay. So you don't have to give too much of the time into NCERTs as well. Okay. Then for different exam stage strategies for prelims, mains, and interview or the personality test. Okay. For prelims, okay, prioritize NCERTs and solve a lot of MCQs. Okay, so for prelims, NCERTs along with MCQ practice with current affairs makes a strong foundation. Okay, and you are good to go if you have covered these things quite judicially. Then you do not require any other things for prelims. Then for mains, the NCERT use NCERT to build concepts, but use 1 to 2 standard books per subject along with current examples and answer practice. Okay, you have to make note of the current examples as well. Then for the interview, okay, or the personality test, the NCERTs help with the fundamental understanding, but the exam board or the interview panel expects informed opinions on current issues. So for that, you have to read newspapers and form a balanced view. Okay, follow the news, read newspapers to get to form a balanced view or opinion regarding the things that are happening inside the country and around the world. Then we can get we can take some practical examples. So for prelims MCQ, so suppose if there is a question on continental drift, there is a topic of continental drift and plate tectonics. So NCERT diagrams, they help. In the mains micro answers for the topic of fiscal deficit in NCERTs, in economy, use NCERT definition plus economy primer and recent budget figures. For writing ethics case studies, okay, do theory from NCERT, okay, the basic psychology NCERT, but use contemporary example from the media. Then what are the common mistakes that aspirants do? So aspirants either over depend on NCERTs or completely ignore them, and both of the situations are undesirable. Okay, do not read the NCERTs books passively, convert them into active one page notes. Okay, no passive reading should be there. It's not like that you just open the textbook and start read. Okay, you have to actively make notes out of it. Avoid piling up of many supplements and instead only choose one quality source per topic. Okay, and do not ignore the previous year papers and practice the previous year questions. So here's a quick practical checklist and timeline. So first, the core of your preparation. Okay, study the core NCERTs for selected subjects within the first 3 or 4 months if you are starting the preparation. Create one page summaries on your second reading or on your second pass for all the chapters. Map to syllabus Okay, and choose 1 to 2 supplements per subject in order to fill those gaps. Then start answer writing an MCQ test alongside the revision. So once you have done with the first reading of the NCERTs or of the first reading of the material that is there, okay, start practicing. Start practicing by solving MCQs, by writing the answers. So the key takeaways or the final verdict from this video is that NCERTs are indispensable foundation. Okay, especially for the beginners and the prelims. Okay, so they build a strong foundation and clarity, but they are rarely sufficient alone for mains examination because the mains requires depth. Also, there are specialized optionals and state-specific laws and figures for the PCS examinations. Okay, a smart candidate uses NCERT as a scaffold by summarizing it and maps it to the syllabus and add focus supplements over it. Okay, so always remember, quality trumps over quantity every time. So use NCERT smartly, read, summarize, map, supplement, and practice. That's the mantra for clearing UPSC CSE and other state public service commission examinations. Thank you.